Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Dream Days. Mercedes-Benz Dream Days are here with exceptional offers on the CLE Coupe, E-Class Sedan, C-Class Sedan, and CLA Cabriolet going on now through September 3rd. Learn more, MBUSA.com/dream. He's the voice of the Yankees. He's Michael Kay back on the program. Mike, thanks for joining us. If I would have told you before the season started, Aaron Judge would be on pace to hit 60 home runs again, you would have said what?
I would say I could see it happening, but it wasn't likely because, in 2022, we felt that that was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So I wouldn't bet on it because I just think that these are so unusual. But now I start to think that if he didn't run into the wall at Dodger Stadium last year, maybe he would have made a run at 60 as well. He's just on that kind of roll right now where he's the best hitter in baseball.
I wonder about his swing. When you first saw him, and it felt like somebody that size and having a long swing, could he continue to have that success when his bat, slowed down? He's 32 and having probably the best year of his career. So how do you handicap that swing of his as he, gets to be 35, 36 years of age?
You know what? He's a really smart player, Dan. And I think that what he's done is he's turned it into a science because he actually cares about batting average. And his strikeouts are actually down from his rookie year when he hit 52 home runs. That year, I even talked to Joe Girardi about it. Nobody could envision this. Nobody could have dreamed this big that he'd be a 330 hitter and be on pace for 63 home runs. But that's what he is. So you would be led to believe that if, in fact, he's going to get older and the laws of physics take over and he's going to have a slower bat, I think he'll be able to make it work. I think he's got a lot more in the tank. Remember, he got called up late because he went to college. So if he wants to do great things in a compiling sense, he's got to hit till he's 37, and I think he's going to.
Who's having a better season, Aaron Judge or Shohei Otani?
I think Judge is simply because of the fact that he's playing the field. Otani's unbelievable. He's stolen over 40 bases, and that's something that Judge doesn't do. I think Judge could steal more bases if he wanted to, but it's imperative that he stay healthy. But he's playing center field most of the time, so I'd say that he's probably having a better season.
Was there ever a time when you thought, or maybe Yankee fans thought, you were getting Otani?
I thought at the beginning they did. That's the reason the Yankees have Stanton. Because once they lost out on Otani, they really thought that they were going to get Otani. And then they pivoted and made the trade for Stanton. And I remember sitting next to Otani on the dais at a baseball writers' dinner in New York. And, he had signed with the Angels. And he said to me, why are people so upset? I said, because they really wanted you to be a Yankee. He goes, well, maybe one day. But that's not going to happen. I think he likes it on the West Coast. And at the end of this 10-year contract, I don't think the Yankees will pursue him.
What about Juan Soto?
I'm one of the people who believe this, and I don't think it's something that people want to embrace. Everybody says, oh, he loves being a Yankee, and the fans love him, and they're showing him such love. He'll definitely sign with the Yankees. He's definitely going to sign with the team that offers him the most money. You don't have Scott Boras as an agent to take a discount. That's just not the way it works. And maybe it's going to be the Yankees that give him the most money. The only thing I would actually bend a little bit on, Dan, is if it's close. I think he is enjoying his time. He knows the power of hitting in front of Judge. And the fans and Soto from opening day this year have had a love affair. So if there's a difference between $1 million for 1 year over a 10, 15-year period, I could see him saying, okay, I'll go to the Yankees. But let's say the Mets and Steve Cohen, they offer him $60 million a year, and the Yankees offer him $50. He could love the Yankees all he wants. He loved being with the Nationals, and he turned down $440 million. So I think it's going to come down to a business transaction, and I think emotions are going to be pushed to the side.
Best team in the American League is who?
I think it's between the Yankees and the Orioles, but if you want to ask me who do I fear the most, it's probably the Astros. I don't think they're the best team, but they have the institutional knowledge of how to get to the ALCS. So if I'm the Yankees or the Orioles, that would be the team that scares me the most. In an eye blink, they went from 10 out to by 5.5, 6 over, and in front of the Mariners, and they got the Mariner manager fired as well. So the Astros scare me the most, and I'd say that the Yankees and the Orioles are the two best teams in the league.
You look at a Yankee Dodger World Series?
I would like that. That would be fun. I think it would be good for baseball. I see Otani and Judge on the same field. I think that would be great, and it would bring me back to 81 and 77 and 78. But I'll tell you what, on my radio show, Dan, all I take is Yankee fans talking about this Judge Ceases means nothing unless they go to the World Series. I mean, that's the way they've been programmed. So I really can't get upset with them. But it's so hard to get to the World Series. The last time a team went back to back was the Yankees. So there's just so many layers of playoffs to get there. I mean, Brian Cashman calls it a crapshoot. I don't know if it's quite a crapshoot, but I do know it's really, really tough to do. So would I like to see the Yankees and the Dodgers, maybe the Yankees and the Phillies? Sure. Yankees and the Mets would be fun. I think there are legitimately 10 teams that could go to the World Series.
What was your reaction when the story came out that the Yankees could honor Alex Rodriguez?
Should honor, or that they actually invited him to Old Timers Day?
Well, no, I thought that there was something about A-Rod talking about, being put out in Memorial Park or out there with all the legends.
Well, a lot of people were asked that during Old Timers Day. I think the fact that Alex was invited to Old Timers Day, if you asked me that 6 years ago, I go, yeah, okay, that's going to happen. So time does heal some wounds. And when he was introduced to the crowd, there was a lot of love that came his way. There weren't boos. There were cheers for sure. Not the most of any Yankee. That still goes to Derek Jeter. I think it's a long way from putting into Monument Park. I really do. I mean, this is a guy, and I think if you look at his numbers, just look at his numbers, 696 home runs, 3 MVPs, 2 of them with the Yankees, a great World Series run in '09. He deserves to be out there for that. But this guy was also suspended from baseball for a year, and he was suing the team. So, I mean, there have to be a lot of wounds that have to be healed before that would ever happen. I would never say never, but it would be tough.
But the Yankees love to celebrate these things, even though I wouldn't celebrate A-Rod with putting him out there, and I misspoke Monument Park. But, hey, it's the Yankee franchise. They do what they want to do. But it seems like A-Rod's still, how do you curry favor to get in the Hall of Fame? And, I just don't know. He's been relevant doing the Fox games, the ESPN stuff, and then I just wonder, is he ever going to get into the Baseball Hall of Fame, having been popped twice with steroids?
I don't think he will. I don't think he will unless there's a seismic change of the people that are voting. People have said, well, people will die off and there'll be a younger generation of voters. Okay, then his 10 years on the ballot will be over. And then it'll be the hands of some kind of veterans committee. And I think a lot of the players want to keep the PED guys out. The sad part is, Dan, of all the people that have been kept out, like Bonds and Clemens and the like, the one that it hurts the most is A-Rod, because he is such a lover of baseball and he understands the history of the game and what it means to be in Cooperstown. That would mean the world to him. But he also knows that he messed up in a big way. So I'm not sure he'll ever get into Cooperstown. I'm just not.
You bring up a valid point, and I've heard that before, that you get younger voters, they aren't as offended by steroids. And I had Tim Kirchin on the show recently, and I said, it is a museum. And there's a lot of things in museums that aren't attached to good people, but they're still in a museum. Are we treating the Hall of Fame like it's a little too pristine instead of let's use it to tell the story of baseball?
All due respect, Dan, because I idolize you. I hate that argument. Hate it. It is a museum, and he's in that museum. Pete Rose is in that museum. That doesn't mean they get a plaque. The plaque is the ultimate in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So there are displays. You've got Pete Rose's bat there. You've got Alex Rodriguez, something from the 2009 World Series. So everybody is represented in the story of baseball. But just because it's a museum doesn't mean that they have to get a plaque. And that's where I would draw the line. And as for I think you bring up a great point about, it's treated as if it's a church. It's a sacrament. It's sacrilegious if you would let somebody in. That I don't like. And I love the way the baseball writers hold on to this and do treat it that way. But the one thing that they've messed up on, because I just watched the Pete Rose documentary on Max, The fact that they were ever had that Pete Rose vote taken out of their hands, they should have said, we will never vote for another player unless you let us vote for Pete Rose. That doesn't mean Pete Rose deserves to get in, but they should be the ones that decide. Once it was taken out of their hands, it shows you how much they just love that vote and how much it means to them, because they should have stepped away and said, unless you give us a chance to vote on this guy, because we've done right by this hall, we've kept bad guys out, we've kept PED guys out, we should be allowed to vote for Pete Rose. And once the Baseball Hall of Fame took that out of their hands, they should say, okay, find another way to vote people in because we're out. But they didn't do that, and that's on them.
Well, you get people who have this argument, Michael, and that is, hey, Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he cheated. Hey, Clemens was a Hall of... And I said, that it doesn't matter. Like, you could be Father of the Year in 2008, and then all of a sudden you're abusing your wife. Like, just because you were something doesn't mean that's what you are. It's the totality of your career. And I never buy that. Was Bonds a Hall of Famer? Yes, he was well on his way. Clemens, I don't think was until he went to Toronto, and then after that things changed there. Sammy Sosa's name never comes up as one of those guys like, what about, I mean, he had 4 seasons of hitting over 60 home runs. I don't know. It feels like Bonds, Clemens, but never Sosa. So I don't, like, we kind of pick and choose who should, shouldn't, why they should, why they shouldn't. And even Pete, if you cheat when you're in graduate school, I don't take away your undergraduate degree. If he bet as a manager, now, do I think he bet as a player? I do. I don't have any reference with that, but I just do. I don't think he started once he became a manager. But I can't take away what he did as an undergrad, Michael. That's a Hall of Fame baseball career, and I know what he did as a manager. He bet on baseball.
Well, Pete Rose is a really complicated case because the only thing they have proof of is, in fact, that he bet as a manager. He never bet as a player. He would not be getting in as a manager. He'd be getting in as a guy with the most hits in the history of baseball. But it's a tough thing to delineate on and say, okay, you separate the guy, because I'm sure Shoeless Joe Jackson never bet on baseball till the Black Sox scandal. Should he be in because of the stuff he did before that? I think it's the one whole thing. It's not just like, it's not a Sizzler buffet. You get the whole thing.
Should we look at Aaron Judge as the single season home run champ?
I think that, I don't want to cop out, but I think that's everybody's individual preference. If you look at Bonds and you think that it was ill-gotten gains, and Sosa and McGuire, then he is. If you think, okay, everybody was doing it and there were pitchers that were doing it, then he's not. The best thing he has going for him is at least he knows he's the American League single season home run record holder. Is he better than Bond? The sad part is, Dan, he had the worst April that you could possibly have. The worst. If he actually had just a decent April, they'd be people talking about him getting 73, and then he would erase all of this nonsense, and there'd be no more asterisks anymore. But the fact that he had a bad April means that he's going to go for 62 again, and probably not going to go for 73.
You think he could hit 73?
I do. Now, as he gets older, I think it becomes less likely. But if he had an April where he had 9 home runs, rather than what he did have, I mean, he hit under 200 in April. Yeah. He looked lost, where people were saying something's wrong with him. He just didn't have enough at-bats in spring training. If he had a decent April, I think he'd be making a run at 73. I really do, because he is so locked in right now. And it's not just brute force that he does out there. He's really thinking up there, and he's become a much more cerebral hitter. I think he could have done it this year. I don't know. Next year he's a year older. I'm not sure. But this year he could have done it.
And you see right-handed hitters, that they use the entire field. I remember Dale Murphy, kept saying that there were pitches that he could hit out of the park to right center, and he became really good at doing that because he was trying to pull everything. And I see Judge, like, that's a smart hitter. Even if you don't hit a home run, use the pitch to your advantage, use the ballpark to your advantage. So you can see a thought process when he's up there. A lot of these guys just go up there and swing. But he's thinking when he's in there.
Also, Yankee Stadium is built for him. So just a fly ball to right field. I'm not saying he has a lot of these home runs because most of them go 450 feet. But it's good if you're going to break a record to have one dunk into the short porch and right 2 or 3 times a year, because that gives you a little bit of a run. He's just a brilliant, brilliant hitter. And again, I did not envision a guy who's going to hit over 300 when he hit the 52 home runs as a rookie. He's gotten so much better as a baseball player and so much smarter. And really, Dan, I don't know if you've ever stood next to him. He's a giant. There aren't baseball players that look like that. I mean, I'm 6'4", and I feel small next to him. Paul O'Neill is 6'6", and he's looking up at him. It's just an amazing thing that a guy that size could have that kind of athletic ability, and also the computer of a brain to process all the information that's coming his way for him to hit 300. And he's one of the few home run hitters, Dan, that really does care about batting average. He's not Joey Gallo, who's willing to hit 40 and hit 170. He takes a lot of pride in hitting 300, and he's going to hit 300. He might even win the batting title if Bobby Witt Jr. goes into a little bit of a slump.
Great to talk to you. You're in postseason form. You're ready to go. Don't screw it up.
I might.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
That's Michael Kay, Yankee play-by-play broadcaster on Yes Network.